the March 19th public meeting of the Mount Pearl City Council to order. I want to welcome everybody who's here in the gallery. Welcome council and staff. Council, we are going to have a fairly busy afternoon here today. We have some presentations and proclamations and things that we're going to sign, and that's why I think you see this extreme level of interest that we normally don't see here when we get together for our meetings. The first thing we'll do, though, is follow along according to plan. The first would be our agenda. You have all of the items listed in front of you. I will accept a motion to accept the agenda as presented. It is moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Are there any additions to the agenda other than those which may be listed? What I have here are not additions to the agenda. They're already listed. Are there any, or are we good to go? There is one action report. Okay, that's from the public meeting of March 5th. Okay, we'll deal with that, of course, under business arising. Hearing nothing else, call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. We'll move on now then to the minutes of the council meeting of March 5th. A motion to accept the minutes as presented, moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. Are there any errors or omissions? Again, this is from the public council meeting of March 5th. Errors or omissions? Going once? Twice? Gone. We'll call the question to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Business arising. This would be items left over from the last meeting that will not be addressed further in the agenda of this meeting. Any business arising? Please refer by number if you have an item. Any business arising? Not hearing any, then council will move on to proclamations and presentations. And today we have some really interesting things that we're going to do this afternoon. We have a number of proclamations and presentations, and I'm going to propose that we would do all of the proclamations first and the presentations after. The first will be a proclamation that we are going to sign today. It is from the Dietitians of Canada, recognizing Nutrition Month. And I do believe we have Nicole Penton here with us. Nicole, are you here with us? I want you to come up with me. What I will do is read the proclamation into the record here and hand it back to you. And I'm going to invite you then to use this particular microphone here to feel free to then address council and say a few words about Nutrition Month. You step on right up here. Council, the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the goal of National Nutrition Month is to encourage all Canadians to eat well, and whereas registered dietitians are a trusted source of credible nutrition information and are launching a campaign focusing on helping consumers make healthier food choices, and whereas Canadians are interested in healthy living and they want information to help them achieve this goal, dietitians offer nutrition resources as well as interactive tools on the Dietitians of Canada website, which is dietitians.ca. And whereas to celebrate National Nutrition Month, the Dietitians of Newfoundland and Labrador have organized fun, educational events to engage the public in the theme of plan, shop, cook, enjoy. What could be better than that? Now, therefore, I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2013 as Nutrition Month in the City of Mount Pearl, in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And with that, Nicole, I will affix a signature. And I'm going to hand this to you and invite you to address council and tell us about your activities for Nutrition Month this year.
Perfect. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Penton. I am a registered dietitian in practice here in St. John's and surrounding areas in Mount Pearl. March is Nutrition Month, and it's an interesting time. I guess we can dedicate a month to focus on how we eat, how to improve how we eat, and actually make it interesting. So this year, Dietitians of Canada chose to focus on the grocery store and look at grocery shopping, because that is where good nutrition habits start, typically in the home. So across the province, including in Mount Pearl as well, and St. John's and surrounding areas, CBS, we have a number of activities planned. I myself are doing, I'm doing a number of activities with Coleman's just here down the road with you guys. I have one this evening, and it's just information talks, a lot of different activities just to create awareness, focus on the importance, and also to bring people back to us as dietitians and what we can offer the community. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole, very much. I'm going to present this to you and offer you the very best of luck
you
with
very
the month
much.
this year. We really appreciate your work. Okay, you want to do a picture like that? Hold on now. When we started this, by the way, can I brag a bit? I can brag a bit, can't I?
Yes. Yeah.
When we started Nutrition Month beginning March 1st last year, we put on a little contest here at the city.
Lovely.
And we got into eating green and eating orange and going to the gym and having to walk and wear a pedometer and all kinds of foolishness.
Yeah.
We also ended up paying that woman over there a substantial sum of money
So quiet.
because she won our bet up to the end of April.
Okay.
Some of us kept on going, like me, and so I'm 52
Noted.
pounds less than. So I'm
Excellent.
pleased a year later.
Phenomenal. That is
Nutrition
excellent.
Month did all that, so that's good. So
Excellent.
have a good month.
Thank you.
Do well.
Okay.
One more. Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Good luck with Nutrition Month.
Yeah, you said everything I was going to say, Randy. Yeah. It was inspiring.
Council, our next presentation today, our next proclamation today is one that's quite frankly very near and dear to my heart. This is a proclamation about Volunteer Week. We've been talking about it for some time. I think most members of council are engaged in some activities planned for Volunteer Week this year. I want to welcome to the chamber today, wave if you would, the Volunteer Week chair this year, Bernard Davis, who is over right there, Jackie Dollamont, who is the vice chair from the VOCM Cares Foundation. Hi, Jackie. Pam Corrigan with the Community Sector Council in Newfoundland and Labrador, and Jennifer Gurdick. Have I pronounced it right? Gurditch. Grudich. Okay, I'll get it right. Jennifer Grudich with the Community Sector Council here as well. Now, I understand, Bernard, you're going to come up and have a few words to say, so I'm going to get you to do the same. Come on up with me. We'll read the proclamation into the record here, and then we'll invite you to outline some of the activities surrounding volunteer. Oh, yes, everybody come up. Everybody come up and gather around. Okay, yeah, be careful you don't hurt yourselves there now, because that's possible. All right. The proclamation, council, reads as follows. Whereas the City of Mount Pearl recognizes the enormous contribution that volunteers and voluntary community-based organizations make to the social, cultural, and economic development of our province. And whereas it has been recognized that more than 52% of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians over the age of 15 contribute an average of 155 volunteer hours annually, resulting in a significant and positive impact on the quality of life for our citizens. And whereas the City of Mount Pearl acknowledges the theme, Let's Make Some Noise for Volunteer Week 2013, recognizes and shows appreciation to all our citizens who volunteer, and encourages the continuation of volunteerism. Therefore, with the support of City Council, I sign this proclamation and declare the period April 21st to 27, 2013, to be observed throughout the City of Mount Pearl as Volunteer Week. And I call upon and urge all residents to lend their time and skills to this worthwhile activity. And with that, I shall affix a signature. And Bernard, if you would, because we do this, we webcast this, that's why we do this, we'd ask that you address council and tell us about your plans.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Worship and City Council, for inviting us here tonight to do this proclamation, to say thank you, and to recognize the fact that the volunteers within our community give so freely of their time and talents. I think that His Worship stole most of my thunder by saying about the theme, this year's theme for Volunteer Week, which is April 21st to the 27th, is Let's Make Some Noise. We came about picking this theme because volunteers go about their work day to day in the community so quietly and diligently that we figured it would be great to make some noise in response to the activities that they do so quietly behind the scenes. So with that said, I'd just like to say thank you very much for inviting us here today to do this, and please encourage everyone during Volunteer Week and every week of the year to say thank you to the many volunteers that give so freely of their time and talents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, I'm going to get you to come up front here. We're going to do this again. Get everybody in a snack. On the weekend, we had... Yeah, I was going to do it. On the weekend, Bernard, there were 76 members of council from the Avalon Peninsula had a 2-day session at Capitol Hotel in St. John's. It was an educational follows. Whereas Purple Day is a global effort dedicated to promoting epilepsy awareness in countries around the world, and whereas Purple Day was founded by 9-year-old Cassidy Megan of Nova Scotia, who wanted to let people know that if you have epilepsy, then you are not alone. And whereas epilepsy is one of the most common neurological conditions, estimated to affect over 10,000 people in Newfoundland and Labrador, over 300,000 people in Canada, and 50 million people worldwide. And whereas 1 in 10 persons will have at least one seizure during his or her lifetime, and whereas the public is often unable to recognize common seizure types or how to respond with appropriate first aid, and whereas Purple Day will be celebrated on March 26th annually to increase understanding, reduce stigma, and improve the quality of life for people with epilepsy throughout the country and the world. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Randy Sims, Mayor of the City of Mount Pearl, do hereby proclaim March 26th as Purple Day in an effort to raise the awareness and understanding of epilepsy and to support all those who live with seizures each day. And I will affix my signature to that on behalf of City Council, and Ms. Lewis will see to it that we get that in the hands of the proper people. Anybody with a comment on anything that's gone on thus far? Hearing none, we will move along. Next, we have 2 presentations to make today. Both of them are of joyous ones. I look around this chamber and I think of how many of us have had and share the honor of having a Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal now. Councillor Stoyles, Councillor Ledwell, yours truly, have had the pleasure of receiving these medals, and it truly is an honor. And today we're going to use our chamber once again to honor a couple of other individuals in our community, both of whom are known to us on, I'm going to have to say, a very personal level. One obviously being our former outgoing city manager, Gerard Lewis, who has dropped back from time to time since he retired. And we see him here and there and around town. And like all of us old retired guys, he can't wait for the golf season to start. So hopefully his handicap will improve. Please, Lord, make it improve. I'm going to invite Mr. Keith Arns, who is the town manager with the town of Conception Bay South, if he would come forward. And Keith is going to do the honor of making a presentation of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal to Mr. Lewis. Keith, if you would be so kind.
Thank you.
Let me get out of your way here.
Just put the glasses on first to be able to see what I'm going to read. Mayor Sims, councillors and staff, I would like to thank you on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, otherwise known as CAMA, for the opportunity to attend your public meeting this evening. As many of you are aware, CAMA is a Canada-wide network and the national voice of senior municipal administrators in the country. CAMA strives to nurture and build municipal administrative excellence with knowledge sharing and learning opportunities. And I represent Newfoundland and Labrador on the National Board of Directors. Over 50 members of CAMA have received the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal for their outstanding contributions to municipal civil service and their communities. This commemorative medal was created to mark the 2012 celebrations of the 60th anniversary of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II's accession to the throne as Queen of Canada. The Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal is a tangible way for Canada to honour Her Majesty for her service to this country. On behalf of the CAMA Board of Directors, I'm very pleased to announce this evening that the former Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Mount Pearl, Gerard Lewis, has been awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. Gerard is an honorary life member of CAMA and has made a tremendous contribution to local government. He is to be commended for his leadership and lengthy career spanning over 27 years in municipal government. Gerard has been active in the local, provincial and national levels of municipal administration and municipal associations. Gerard has a passion for professional development and lifelong learning and has achieved his Certified Municipal Clerk and Master Municipal Clerk designations. Gerard has been a mentor to many municipal administrators in the province and continues to contribute to the profession of municipal administration. On behalf of CAMA, I would like to congratulate Gerard on this outstanding and well-deserved honour. And I now ask Mr. Gerard Lewis to please come forward and receive the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. So, how do you want to have here.
Yes, down there.
Here, we'll give you that.
You pin that on him, and I'll read this to him. Hang on, huh? Gerard, the plaque reads as follows. By command of Her Majesty the Queen, the Diamond Jubilee Medal is presented to you in commemoration of the 60th anniversary of Her Majesty's accession to the throne and in recognition of your contributions to Canada. You're not going to say a few words here? Can't get away that easy. Use that.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Keith, and please pass along my thanks and appreciation to CAMA. It's certainly been a great opportunity to serve on that organization and to be a member, because I think that is one organization that can help any municipal administrator become a better municipal administrator. And I also want to thank the Mayor and Council, because it's only with a supportive council who supports professional development and training and provides its staff with the opportunity to travel throughout this world and participate in this. So without that, I wouldn't be here today. So thank you, council, and thank you, staff from Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Gerard, and congratulations. It is surprising a little bit that our outgoing CAO, recently retired, would be honored by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities with this very outstanding award. In this case, it was for Gerard Kama, the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators. We have one more to present, and it is to Gerard's replacement. Our new CAO, though to us, I suppose it's fair to say Michelle Peach is not new anymore, right? It's not new anymore, I don't think. But the Federation of Canadian Municipalities put forward the name Michelle Peach to be recognized with a Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal. Basically, what went on here is, and I believe that Mr. Ernst kind of outlined some of the details. Over 60,000 medals are going to be awarded across the country throughout the Diamond Jubilee year. It is going to recognize significant contributions to the nation and recognize significant accomplishments by Canadians everywhere. And the Governor-General of Canada asked organizations like the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to help identify 4,000 worthy medal recipients in municipalities across the country, and those who have helped strengthen the municipal sector overall. So the FCM decided that the allocation of medals would go out in two different ways. The majority of the allotment of medals was awarded according to nominations submitted directly by mayors, by councillors, and other municipal elected officials. Recipients, therefore, were prominent citizens, elected officials, volunteers, and community leaders. But the remainder of the medal recipients were nominated by an advisory committee of past presidents of the FCM, representing all regions of the country. And it was chaired by the current president of the FCM. The acting advisory committee determined that the criteria for these remaining medals should go to people who did this, should go to people who made an exceptional contribution to strengthening local government across the country or in a particular province or territory. It should go to municipal staff and officials who have made exceptional contribution to FCM projects in Canada and elsewhere in the world on behalf of Canada, whether as volunteers in international development missions, or chairs or champions of innovative green municipal fund projects, or as key supporters of women's participation in local government and other FCM projects. This distinction they write. Highlights the exemplary efforts of all those who strive daily to make their community a great place to live. The Governor General has recognized the important role municipalities and their leaders play in ensuring our collective prosperity and high quality of life. We sincerely appreciate your affiliation. They are writing this to you, Michelle. Your affiliation with FCM, your support for strong communities and good government, in partnership with local leaders and with federal, provincial, and territorial governments. You are helping to build a safer, stronger, and more prosperous future for communities large and small. On behalf of the FCM and all of the members across Canada, once again, thank you for your continued contribution to your community, to your province, and to your country. It is an honor as the mayor of this city to have seen a medal awarded today from the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators to one of our CAOs. Double the pleasure to say we're going to do it again, this time from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Guess what? To our current CAO. As I've heard some people say in this province before, gets no better than this. So ladies and gentlemen, join with me and say a congratulations to Ms. Michelle Peach. Michelle?
Diamond Jubilee Medal is presented to you in commemoration of the 60th anniversary of Her Majesty's accession to the throne and in recognition of your contributions to Canada. Ms. Peach, congratulations. Smile. Good job. Well done. You got to say a word too. No, you don't? Thank you, everybody, very, very much. And yes, you do not have to stay here and suffer the next hour and a half of what will be our council meeting. Congratulations, guys. That's pretty good, you know, to have two of your CAOs get those awards. That's pretty good stuff. It just goes to show that we're brilliant around this joint.
We're brilliant. We choose the right people.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying was that we're brilliant because we choose the right people.
We choose well.
Council, that is all of the proclamations and presentations. We'll move on to correspondence. We have one piece of correspondence. This is from Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro issuing a public advisory to inform electricity consumers on the island that Hydro is following its generation contingency plan as a result of one of those 3 generation units being out of service now at the Holyrood plant. To my knowledge, we have not encountered any particular problems here in the city of Mount Pearl as a result of that, even though we did hit some peak demand areas, and I would imagine even last evening, given the abnormally cold temperatures. And this morning, we still did not encounter, to my knowledge, any problem with power or loss of power. Does anybody wish to have a comment on this letter or any aspect associated with it at this point in time? It is tabled here strictly for information purposes at the moment. Anything? Council? Okay. They did include a thing on using your own portable generators, of course. All right. We will thank them for that letter. We will move on to committee reports. First will be our Public Works Committee. Councillor Walsh, Chair, you are on the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We're going to begin by spending a little bit of money. We had 5 bids on 2 tandem plow trucks with pre-wet. These are what we have been referring to, Your Worship, as the flyers. And we've been deploying 5 flyers this past winter as part of our operations. With the purchase of these 2 new additional trucks, it will bring the total to 7. We've found these trucks to be particularly helpful for plowing operations on all the main thoroughfares, the Old Placenta Roads area, the Commonwealth Road, Commonwealth Avenue, all the main roads, but they also do the salting pretty much in all the streets throughout the city of Mount Pearl. These don't come without a price, obviously. They're fairly expensive. 2 trucks, $476,000, $476,220.42. And I ask for support of council for that purchase, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Questions or comments? This concludes the fleet for us, right? Right, for the trucks?
I was gonna say, you better qualify that. If we want to maintain the level of service that we maintain, we're probably going to become looking for new things. But this will be the end of the Flyers for now. And of course, let's move on.
I gotta say, as a politician, you are definitely there, aren't you?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Now.
You never say
For
never.
now, never say never. Any other question on this? We will call it, therefore, all those in favor. Contrary minded, the motion is carried.
Your Worship, the second thing basically is just to remind residents again that we are, and of course it's a little bit like tempting Providence, but we were tempting residents last week with a little bit of spring for a few days. But of course the weather has turned cold again, and we're back into probably more winter-like weather conditions and operations. But that's a typical March. We are trying to do our best to get around to fill some of the potholes that have been showing their ugly heads or gaps throughout the winter. And we're also reminding residents as well that, if you have damage as a result of winter operations, and it may still be a little bit too early to recognize that there is damage. We're talking particularly about lawn damage. There is a number that you can call, and I'm going to give that number again right now. It's 748-1016. That's our general number to the depot. Or if you wanted to have a direct access by email, Wanda Reese, who works in our Public Works Department, is very prompt and compiles a list for repairs every year. And her email is just wrees, R-E-E-S, @mountpearl.ca. So pass along any information. If there's something that we're not absolutely sure of, like sometimes tree damage and different things like that, don't really fall within our jurisdiction. And although it may have been damaged by snow or ice or some other things, unless and sometimes they're not things that we necessarily get into repairing. But if you have any questions, just again drop us a line or make a call, and we'll send people out, have a look, and see what needs to be done there. So that's it for me, Your Worship. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Community Services Report, Councillor Tessier.
Brief report today, Your Worship. We want to extend congratulations to Campia Gymnastics on the results of the 2013 Titans Invitational that was held in Nova Scotia on March the 2nd. They had a great competition. They had many first to sixth place finishes. Actually, they gave us a list, and the list was so extensive. So we're really proud of our athletes again with Campia Gymnastics, and we want to congratulate them and certainly thank the coaches and all the volunteers who helped create this success with those athletes. That's it.
Okay, thank you. That's all. It was just a public information piece there. And all right, thank you for that. We'll move on to corporate services. Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that was their second. We had a similar report there a couple of weeks back, didn't we? That Campia did well on the in their competition.
That's true. Yep.
That was the Frosty Flip, and that was a qualifier.
Oh, that was the provincial qualifier. But it's good to see because, as we said earlier in the chamber, the talent in that group is amazing. You know, when you see the children and the flips they can do and stuff like that. So, all right, on to the agenda here, Your Worship. The first item is a request for tax consideration. There are three requests for exemption from 2013 business taxes, and this, of course, is in accordance with council policy for non-profit organizations, and I move that the amounts be accepted as presented.
Seconded. Moved and seconded by Councillor Aker. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, is a request for professional development and training from our Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, and this is to attend the International Public Works Congress and Exposition being held in Chicago from August 25th to the 28th of 2013. And again, this is in accordance with the city's professional development policy, and I so move.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded?
Next is a request from Councillor Stoyles to attend the 4th Annual Social Media Conference being held April 18th and 19th, 2013 in Tampa, Florida. And again, this is in accordance with our professional development policy, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Baker. All in favor? Contrary minded? Carried.
And the next item, Your Worship, is a resolution from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities regarding the election to the Board of Directors. Committee was advised that Council is required to endorse you, Your Worship, to serve on the board of FCM as a representative of Newfoundland cities. We have an agreement with Corner Brook, St. John's to rotate the membership on the FCM board to represent, again, Newfoundland cities. And this rotation for Mount Pearl is every 4 years. So this is our turn in the rotation. It's now, again, the turn of Mount Pearl to nominate a member to the board. So the following is a resolution that will be forwarded to FCM for the election of the Board of Directors. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities represents the interest of municipalities on policy and program matters that fall within federal jurisdiction. And whereas FCM's Board of Directors is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions and sizes of communities to form a broad base of support and provide FCM with the prestige required to carry the municipal message to the federal government. And whereas FCM's 76th Annual Conference and Trade Show will take place May the 31st to June the 3rd, 2013, during which time the annual general meeting will be held and followed by the election of FCM's Board of Directors. Be it resolved that the Council of the City of Mount Pearl endorses Mayor Sims to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the duration of the term. And be it further resolved that Council assumes all costs associated with Mayor Randy Sims attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings. And I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And the last item from our committee, Your Worship, are the invoices for Council approval. You can see that there's 13 outlined there, and they total $1,648,126.90. And I move that these amounts be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded. Question or comment regarding the 13 invoices listed?
Some big ticket items here, Your Worship.
Very big ticket items there.
Fire services is over $1 million. Salt is certainly not cheap, at over $250,000. And like water consumption for February, $231,000. So again, it's quite a few big ticket items here.
It really is. We are going to call it on that note. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And that's it for us, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Engineering Services Committee report. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have a number of items on our agenda this evening. The first would be an update on the multiplex project that continues. Construction moves along at a good pace. We are now up to 38% complete. In fact, the progress of the project from November to February is now chronicled on our website with our now infamous camera that we have, of course. We've got a time-lapse video up there showing the progress.
Such brilliance to have that camera there, though,
Such brilliance. There's a very wise man advised that we should have such a camera. But the time-lapse video is on the website now to show the progress of the project.
I think people find it interesting, by the way.
Absolutely.
To look at that.
Absolutely. It's there from November to February, so you can check that out. Of course, Phase 4, the geothermal well drilling is continuing, and of course the erection of the steel for the actual form of the building is happening still. It is starting to look very good, Deputy Mayor, so it's good to see it happening. Of course, the excavation and the installation of the storm retention system is continuing as well, so we're moving along very well with the project. Speaking of big projects that we have ongoing, our second item is regards to the Team Guju softball hut. We're nearing the end of the project at this point. We're performing the deficiency inspections and collecting the documentation that's needed for the occupancy permits. And I'm very happy to report that the anticipated completion date is within 2 to 3 weeks. So we're certainly getting there by the end of the month, end of March. We're nearing the anticipated completion date, which is very good news. Now, it's my turn to spend some money. Some tenders here. The first tender is for the manufacture and supply of waste containers. And these are the waste containers for our own facilities so that we can pick them up with our own city trucks. As you can see, there are 3 bids there. And the recommendation of the committee is to award the tender to the lowest bidder, that being Waste Quip. at an amount of $20,362.60, and I so move.
It is moved and seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question, Deputy Mayor?
These waste containers, Councillor Ledwell, are they like the big blue steel containers? Okay, so rather than rent those out, we're going to buy our own. Okay.
That's correct, yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Carried.
Fourth item that we have is another tender, this one for the supply and delivery of turf maintenance material, those being fertilizer, lime, and seed. Again, we have the bidders listed there. There are 2 bidders, and the recommendation of the Engineering Services Committee is that we award the tender to the lowest bidder, that being East Chem NL Incorporated, at $34,076.84, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And our final item this evening, Your Worship, is another tender for the supply and delivery of ornamental nursery stock, trees, and shrubs. You'll see that there are 2 bids, and the recommendation of the committee is to award the bid to Gay Seed Company. That's in the amount of $10,625.67. They are the lowest bidder, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Questions? We'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
That's it for us. Thank you, Your Worship.
That concludes engineering, planning, and land use. Councillor Ager, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. The first item we have here for 15 Old Placentia Road, we have an application by Pattison Outdoor for a billboard. It meets all of our regulations. Most notably, it's within the 100. It's outside the 100-meter criteria in terms of distance from another billboard sign. And residences are more than 60 meters away from this sign. The department and the committee have no problem with this, and I'd like to move that we approve it.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Any questions, comments? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Next item is a notification for council. It's an FYI. Earth Hour takes place this coming Saturday, March 23rd, 8:30 to 9:30. Sponsored by the WWF, who I'm no fan of, I got to admit, you know what I mean, as a proud Newfoundlander, proud of the Newfoundland Seal Hunt, but I do endorse this initiative. It's asking us to symbolically support climate change and shut off our lights for an hour, sit back and enjoy, and basically just sit back and make a statement. 8:30 in Newfoundland, now you know, that works out well with the timing of the hockey game, I got to say. So, as a consideration, if you want to have your Earth Hour anytime during the day, 7:30 to 8:30, for example, or sometime earlier, I don't think any proud Canadian would be dismayed by that. But the point is to symbolically support the initiative.
Can't you just turn off all the lights and keep the TV on?
There is now an Earth Hour anthem. And the last thing I'll do, and I will not sing this, but I'll just tell you what the chorus is. To treat the earth kind is our message. And we will never forget this when every day we're left breathless by the glow of the sun. The future is ours to own now, with every voice raised up so loud, with every hand in and lights out. It's time to unite as one, and that's what it's all about: acting together in support of climate change. And I'd like to move on that note. I will not sing. Did you bring your guitar, Councillor Walsh?
I forgot.
Darn. Next item, Your Worship, I have a notice of motion. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the text of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations that, if enacted, will amend the industrial light use zones table as follows. In Section 11.19.5, which is landscape front yard, delete the word identification and replace the word permitted in that section. Then it will read, the front yard shall be a minimum of 10 meters from the street line to be used for nothing other than landscaping, outdoor display court, permitted access, driveways, and permitted sign. The purpose of this amendment is to provide council with the authority to permit identification, freestanding, and billboard signs in the landscaped front yards within the IL use zones. The next item, Your Worship and Council, is development permits for the period March 4th to 15th. We have permit number 12, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
For the same period, residential permits, I think, is the only thing on the table today, and we have $375,000. The period is a little slow on the machinery today, March 2nd to March 15th, and I'd like to move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
Thank you.
And that's all committee reports. We're moving on to new business. I'll ask council meeting on the 5th. We started with Councillor Stoyle, so I'm going to start with the Deputy Mayor today. We'll go reverse. Deputy Mayor.
Just a couple of items here, Your Worship. One has to do, Councillor Walsh was speaking earlier about, our flyers and our snow clearing and the great job, of course, that our staff has done all winter to keep our streets clean. Just had, an expression of concern from a couple of residents regarding some of the damage that was done to the benches along Ruth Avenue in particular, and some of the garbage buckets. They had been destroyed with the snow clearing, and they sort of asked, is that something that we could take up, in the winter time? Was that something that we usually do? Was it an oversight, or do we leave them out all year, or can we move them back a little further in behind the sidewalk so they're not damaged? Because I think probably 2 or 3 in my walk around, I saw at least 2 benches that were destroyed by that, as well as some of the garbage buckets. So I just wanted to bring that forth and ask if maybe committee can have a look at that and see what the policy is, or what we usually do with the procedures. I'd indicate to the residents that I would certainly bring that forward. So I'll ask that to go to committee if I could. And I just want to mention the Swim for Hope that we attended last Friday night, 2 Friday nights ago.
Bad boat builders.
A week Friday passed, and some of the young folks were saying, I think they raised the Mount Pearl Club over $16,000, with $160,000 raised province-wide. So it was a great bit of fun. Yes, we probably could have used some of the engineering services of Mr. Antle in the design and construction of our boat. But I would like to say that my boat did not sink, and I got the child safely up the
It was
swimming
made of
pool.
cardboard. None of them could sink.
Well, some were a little rough shape afterwards. Mine could have gone up and down, I'm figuring, for at least 15 laps before it fell apart. Oh, yeah, it was very well designed.
What place did yours come in? Because mine came in second.
Yes.
And I don't think yours was first.
How did yours come in second? They told me I came in second.
Mine came in second.
Well, we're going to have to review the tapes.
By the way, you just need to know they made an agreement. Everybody came in second.
Everybody came in second. But it was a lot of fun, the enthusiasm in the pool, and all the organizers. And again, we spoke of the volunteers earlier. It was a great initiative. And I just wanted to express that publicly and say I had a lot of fun. And I'm hoping to be back next year. And maybe we can get better designs, or a little more competitive. So that's it.
Councillor Walsh and I watched with mild adult amusement. Actually, we laughed out loud. It was hilarious. It was a great bit of fun. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Tessier.
Just one item, Your Worship. We received a complaint from a resident who lives in Branscombs Pond about vehicles running the red light. There's a pedestrian-activated crosswalk there. There's a light. And, of course, if somebody pushes the button, the traffic light goes red, and consequently cars are expected to stop. The concern that she had is that cars sometimes are not stopping. And that's a real serious issue. There's discussion of speed, there's discussion of light placement, but really, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the driver.
End of what?
Hey, at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the driver. Like that's an extremely important point. I mean, we can talk about anything with regards to trying making people stop, but when that red light's on, that's your indicator. You got to stop. And there's lots of pedestrian-activated crosswalks in Mount Pearl, up by the schools as well, by the senior high, by O'Donnell, by Mount Pearl Intermediate. We've had this discussion before. It's age-old, and it's getting a little tiresome, actually, to be honest, when you consider that in front of a school, if a light is red and cars are still going through it, that's quite concerning. So we just want to make the public know, make the public aware that if they are caught going through that red light or any other red light in Mount Pearl, but particularly these pedestrian-activated crosswalk lights, you will get a ticket, because that's a very, very serious infraction. If the light's red, that means somebody pushed a button, so that means somebody's close. So they're either on the crosswalk, entering it, or just leaving it, and it is your responsibility to stop. So I just wanted to make that very clear to the general public.
Can we do something about additional enforcement there?
Well, what we're going to do when the weather improves, we are going to put the traffic calmer up there again, the speed monitors. However, really, when you think about that, none of that really should be necessary. If the light is red, you are expected to stop.
Is it possible that people are missing it?
No.
I mean, is it set up so that drivers actually do see it well? Because it is I just think of the size of the street itself. Is it possible that people could miss it?
I can't see how. I mean, we all drive it every day, probably. I mean, I've never
I'm trying to give folks the benefit of the doubt, but,
No,
but I hear what you're saying.
I
Is
think
this,
if
you
people
know,
decide that they want to run a red light, they're going to run a red light. You are in a school zone. There's school zone signs very clearly
well,
posted
that's an
everywhere.
unusual occurrence, though. I mean, you know, as a general rule, most drivers wouldn't do that.
Well, the concern that was expressed by this particular resident is that it happens, you know,
Yeah,
more often than
frequently.
more often than she would like to see. There's no doubt. So anyway, we just want to make the general public aware that if we catch you doing that, you will be ticketed. But we really mostly want to encourage you not to do it at all. Preventative potentially could prevent a very, very serious accident. And that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Raker?
Thank you, Your Worship. I too want to chime in on the Swim for Hope. It was a hoot, and anytime you can also raise money for the Bliss Murphy Cancer Center, it's a win-win for everybody. I wanted to acknowledge Adam Keating, who also came by. Now, he was our engineering component there that night, right? And I think we've set a precedent that basically, well, he competed against us. Did he finish first, his team? No? Can't remember now who did, right? But anyway, it was a great time had by all. It was a bit of fun.
The fact that we can't remember who finished first is a good thing.
It's a good sign.
But see, my team was second, and I know I'm just starting the debate all over again.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Carry on.
Here we go. Just thinking earlier on, Volunteer Week was declared here this evening. Now, Volunteer Week is not until, I believe, April 21st in that week, and I just wanted to make note, you know, on April 20th, we're going to be recognizing the Mount Pearl Citizen of the Year, right? So in hand with that, nominations are required, and I encourage the public, I'm not sure what the deadline is, encourage the public to nominate anybody who's made a valuable volunteer contribution in this city over the past year. And my final comments, Your Worship, have to do with some news reports today. I was interviewed by the media a couple of times regarding what they call NORM, normally occurring radioactive material in Dunnemans.
Yeah, I got tagged on that too.
You got tagged
at the luncheon today.
At lunchtime, yeah, with one of the news outlets. We haven't received an application. We do have a process for dealing with this, which down the road may require some public input. No. The Department of Environment for the province has issued an environmental assessment bulletin, which is basically the first warning that they're considering whether or not that type of activity can occur at that site from a provincial regulatory point of view.
Historically, we had an application before and turned it down.
We did, yes. Yeah.
Several years ago.
So they'll go through their process. They've asked us for input. So what we're doing at this point in time is we'll be notifying the neighboring businesses within at least 150 meters. And what we're asking them to do is give their feedback directly to the Department of Environment, but provide us with a copy. Subsequently, down the road, if we get an application, assuming that the Minister of Environment has no issues with the activity, and we get an application from Atlantic Inspections, at that point we'll begin our public process, right? Basically, in terms of whether Council will use its discretion to approve this use at this site.
What has changed?
What has changed?
Yeah, what has changed?
Sorry?
What has changed since
Nothing.
the last application?
It's a different site, though, I think, right? Since the last one?
It was the same.
Same type business. Here's what's but Councillor Walsh, I believe this is what's changed. And I looked to the planner. I tried to get you this afternoon, Stefan, and unfortunately you had just gone, and so I wasn't sure of how I was answering the question. My understanding is that the last time that we did this application, the whole issue of norms was naturally occurring radioactive materials, which actually gathers and is created inside the actual pipes that are used in the drilling process. That the original proposal we had is that this was going to be cleaned on site. There was going to be a process done whereby the radioactive material would be stored on site, would be cleaned on site, and would be distributed back into the oil industry from that site. We turned it down, and I believe it was on the basis of that, but I stand to be corrected. I could be 100% wrong. It was many years ago. But this particular proposal, as I understood the way the media reported it, because I haven't read any file on our part, is that in actual fact the pipe will only be stored here and will be moved elsewhere to actually have the cleaning process occur. And that is somewhat of a change in the application. Whether or not it's something that the city would say is satisfactory, I don't know. And I don't know that to be 100% correct. I really don't. Stefan wants to add something. Let him do that before you jump in, David. Stefan, if you would. You remember this application, by the way?
Yes, Your Worship, I do. I've come to remember it very, very recently. I get in terms of the whole process, apparently what the proponents are doing, and they have met with the Planning and Land Use Development Committee. They've advised us that they've made application under the Environmental Assessment Act as an undertaking in Mount Pearl. So they're going through the environmental process at this stage. But and although they have mentioned it to us, they have not made formal application for the facility in Mount Pearl.
Right.
It's site specific in terms of where it's going, but they haven't made that development application. We had a similar application back in the year, I think 2000 or 2002.
It's a long time ago.
Somewhere around there. And it was for a site off of Corazon Drive. And this really prompted the current kind of process we go through in terms of environmental assessments. Because in that case, the proponent did the same thing, went to environment, and in their process, there was very little notification of surrounding properties. And to this day, it's still that way. So there was an ad in the paper, and there was an ad on the website, and we were aware of it, but the general public really wasn't aware of it. When we went to this, they then made because they got very little response back, the proponent, they went to the second, and they got the commentary back. They went to, in a sense, the second stage, and they actually made the application to the city. So with our normal process, we send it out to the property owners in the area and so on, and we got a response. And the response was an environmental response to the city, and it had to do from one of our major food distribution companies that expressed a concern that their trucks actually drove by the location of the proposed site every day. And was there any guarantee that this natural occurring radioactive material would not somehow affect the food in the trucks? And the consultants for the company could not guarantee that, and these were consultants that they hired to defend the NORM application. And as a result, council said, well, given the potential impact on one of the major food distribution businesses in this province, council was not prepared to approve the site in that location at that time. And that's what happened at that point. This application is similar in nature. We don't know the full background to it. We're just beginning to review the document. Again, the proponents did come in. They were very, I thought, very forthright with the committee. Just advised them, we've made this application. Want you to be aware of it. And kind of, there was some brief discussion with the Planning and Land Use Development Committee. But basically, we advised them that there's another process you got to go through, which is also a public process. And really, this use is a discretionary use of council. And if they are going to proceed, certainly they should get, my term is, there's scientific evidence in place, because this is something that people will react to. And I think in saying that, I think you're beginning to see the commentary and the response by the media already.
I've already received email voicing opposition to the proposal. So might I recommend that for the benefit of council, let's go back and find that original application and review the documents and the files so that we have an understanding of the thinking of council from a decade ago as we gear up for what I believe will be an application coming before council from this company to establish this site. Okay. Any other final comments, Councillor Aker?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the processes that's going on here is as the oil fields get more mature, they're decommissioning some of the pipe. So they're bringing the pipe back to land, and they want a place basically where they can separate this sludge that builds up. This is slightly radioactive. Apparently it's within Canadian standards. But the Hibernia Management and Development Corporation, they don't want to send this pipe off to the recycler until this material is moved. So in Donovan's, what they would propose to do is to separate it using a water process. Once the sludge is removed, it'll be captured in barrels, and ultimately it will be shipped away to, there's a mainland storage center for it. In addition, then the pipe can be shipped off basically to the scrapyard, to the recycler, basically to be reused in some way, shape, or form. The only reason I brought it up tonight is I just wanted to say that the process that's undergoing, we're seeing right now, is a process led by the Department of Environment. And they are asking for our advice or our counsel, but more specifically, we want the neighboring businesses to chime in if they have any issues with it. We haven't begun any process yet because we still haven't received a formal application. When that application is received, and undoubtedly it may come, at that point we'll engage in a public consultation process, which will allow not just the neighboring businesses to chime in on it, but also the residents of Mount Pearl. We'll look at it from a municipal lens, not purely from the lens of, say, solely that activity at that particular site.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to offer that, and I'll shut her down based on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aker. Councillor Stiles?
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought I might have gone last today, but that's fine.
I just went out both ways. That's all.
That's fine. Couple of things to mention, Your Worship. I understand that we're getting a new Lieutenant Governor sworn in as we speak this afternoon. I wanted to...
Already done.
Already done, yeah.
Long done. Done this morning.
Oh, perfect. And that's certainly what I've served on boards with Mr. Fagan with literacy over the years, so I want to wish him well. Also, Your Worship, the Church of the Good Shepherd started the lunch, community luncheon last week, so they had 2 weeks now. So
what's on for tomorrow? We're going tomorrow.
It's
What's
on
on?
Tomorrow. It's Church of the Good Shepherd and Richard Nolan Drive. Tomorrow
No,
they
what's
have
the
stew.
menu?
Tomorrow they have stew. They have
Stew?
Tomorrow they have stew, Irish stew. Yeah.
Leftover Irish stew?
No, it certainly won't be left over. I assure you that, Your Worship.
Fabulous food.
It's
You
fabulous food.
you promised me toutons and beans.
That was last week.
You missed it.
See, if you can't get the menu right, Councillor,
You didn't pay attention. I said last week I had toutons and beans.
is
There's a
there
menu.
rolls with the stew?
Oh yes.
I mean,
and,
you know.
and the following week is macaroni and cheese.
Now we're talking English, baby.
Lots of good company, and it's always a good time. The other thing I want to mention, Your Worship, Councillor...
Who's going to lunch with Lucy and I tomorrow? Church of the Good Shepherd.
12 o'clock. Sharp. 5 to 12, they say grace. And then you're usually out there by 1:45.
You're out by 1 o'clock,
Or
right?
before 1. Yeah.
David, you going? Councillor Aker will be with us at lunch. Councillor Stiles is taking me. Councillor Walsh, what about you?
Well, I'm going to talk to my mother and see if she'd like some stew for tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay, so Mom is going to decide.
Mom decide.
Councillor Ledwell's not going to make it. Jim is not going to make it. Right? You're not going to make it, Paula?
Oh, you can be out before 10 to 1.
You can say goodbye to everybody.
You can. Oh, well, come over. I'm sure we saved some for you.
You could actually have leftover stew.
Yeah, we can give you some leftover.
Carry on.
Couple of other things I wanted to mention. As Councillor Aker mentioned, Citizen of the Year. Of course, we as a city and through our department, Community Services, sends out to all the community groups. But there's individuals that may not be part of these community groups. So if anybody knows of anybody, and that would be. A lot of people certainly are worthy of being nominated for Citizen of the Year, but if anybody knows anybody that feels don't fall into criteria with the service groups and the different organised groups within the city, they can certainly pick up an application and nominate somebody as well. Also, Your Worship, the end of the month, of course, is the end of our on-street parking on the 31st of March. And of course, if there's snow coming after that, we certainly would like for people not to park on the street, especially even after our regulations is over. During the storm, our regulations falls right back into place again. But after March 31st, people can park on the street again. Also, Your Worship, the North East Avalon Joint Councils is meeting tomorrow night in CBS, and anybody who would like to come, they have conflict of interest guidelines tomorrow night as the major topic. And on Saturday, we're hosting a session here from 9 to 12 here at City Hall.
Yeah, what's that all about?
They're doing a planning session to look at where they're going to move to and what their plans are for the next 2 years and what they've done and
A
things
strategic
like that.
plan for the Joint Council.
Yes, and Dread Lewis actually is doing that workshop on Saturday for everybody. Also, Your Worship, I would like for you to send a get well letter to Shani Duff. Deputy Mayor Shani Duff is undergoing surgery. She's finally getting her hip done. And
Today or tomorrow?
She's getting it done tomorrow. She went in hospital
Tomorrow,
today.
yeah.
So she's getting it done.
She was with us on the weekend.
Yes, I had an email from her earlier the week, and I understand she was going in hospital today.
Good for her.
And, of course, congratulations to our two, Michelle and Gerard, on their Queen's Jubilee Medal, and happy Easter to everybody. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, ma'am. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Today at lunchtime I was able to join you and other members of council who were able to attend in the Mayor's Outlook Address for the town of Paradise. Actually, it was held at the Woodstock Colonial Inn. We did this a few weeks ago here in Mount Pearl, and you did a fabulous job of providing an outlook. And I guess it's a bit of an outlook and a look back, because it really entails both. Paradise, of course, was well represented there today with pretty much all members of council. The mayor did an excellent job. Paradise is a thriving neighbour, thriving community, and of course they really do contribute tremendously to the development of the region as a whole. So I just wanted to pass along congratulations to Mayor Wiseman and to the members of council and to the people of Paradise on their continued growth and prosperity there. Last public meeting, I believe it was Councillor Tessier who mentioned about the practice of throwing snow onto the street. I guess the recent weather probably prompted more of that in the last couple of weeks. I saw a number of examples of it in the last couple of weeks. It seems like when we experience a little bit of warmer spring-like weather, it seems like people get impatient and want to get that off the street. I had a kind of an amusing conversation, but a disturbing conversation at the same time on the weekend. We were just chatting about that, and I was sort of making the point, as we all try to make when we can. Let Mother Nature take care of that. Soon enough that snow will be gone off the front lawn and out of the backyard and off the deck if it's still there and all of that sort of stuff. But this resident of Mount Pearl conveyed a story of someone on his street who actually took it to another level. They actually had the snowblower out and were blowing snow from the front lawn onto the street. And they said, it was several inches of snow, or centimeters, if you like, of snow on the street, and hoping
Did we stop that?
That hopefully, on Saturday, then hoping that the snow would melt it. I just want to reiterate the message that doing that is really counterproductive to what we try to do in trying to keep the streets clean. It's also not particularly sensitive to the neighbors. You may be getting snow off your street, but the people across the street, next door on the other side, these people are annoyed by it, and this neighbor was particularly annoyed by it and spoke to the resident about it. The only other thing I want to mention, I don't want to continue the debate on the norms, but I was a little surprised to hear the discussion about that today. I think I was chair of planning when we had that application. I'm pretty sure that I was. I do recall the hearing.
I have no remembrance of it. You probably were.
No, I remember it well. In fact, there was a lot of opposition to it at the time.
There really was.
And all I can say is, I'm still, unless things have changed fundamentally, and your different accounts of how this happens are completely different. You're saying that the stuff is removed downtown. You're saying it's removed in Donovan's. I'm saying if there's any doubt, don't bring it in.
The stuff was proposed, my understanding is the stuff was proposed to be removed and treated in Donovan's. The sludge would be treated in Donovan's.
Yeah.
And
but,
that under this,
but that that sludge would be brought in there. Yeah. And anyway, it'll be an interesting discussion. I guess the only word is, if you have any concerns whatsoever, and I do, about radiation or contaminants being there, we're already receiving really bad PR about this. It's on websites. It's on, in fact, the VOCM website today. It's being talked about in the House of Assembly. Yeah, that now they want to bring radioactive materials in there. All I'm saying is simply this: if you have any concerns, if you have thoughts on it one way or another, particularly in the business, we haven't gone through an application yet, but we turned it down 10 years ago, I think for good reason. And unless things have changed substantially, I believe we should look at that carefully. I'll look at it clearly with an open mind, as we always do. But if there are alternatives, or if there are alternative sites, even if the province approves it, it doesn't mean that we have to accept it. And I can go on record fairly clearly saying this is one instance when you talk about radioactive materials where I don't want it in my backyard if it's going to be avoided. And like I said, I'm not sure that we need to have active radiation materials there if we can avoid it.
In the middle of our business park?
Yeah,
Good question, hey.
Leon, you know, it is a business park, yes, and I think that was the point that I wanted to finish with. A number of years ago, we made a conscious decision to change how we promote and market Donovan's away from an industrial park and into a business park more. And there's much more of a storefront business, warehouse type operation than manufacturing and processing. There's very little, although there is some, very little, by the way, of pipe yards or lay down yards, and there's very little return or revenue in that anyway. But there are parks that sort of, that is their little niche. That's their niche market. So with that in mind, in particular, because of how we've changed the look and feel and the operation of business in Donovan's, that's another reason why I'd really be reticent to see that go there. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very brief, just two very quick items. I too wanted to congratulate the Mount Pearl Marylands on the very successful Swim for Hope a couple of Fridays ago. Certainly it was great to see so many swimmers out and raise so much money for the H. Bliss Murphy Centre. That's absolutely fantastic. I don't want to, however, continue the debate because I'm very dismayed to say, as Chair of Engineering Services, my boat did not stay afloat. So I will be consulting with Director Antle for next year. Absolutely. I also just wanted to make very quick mention, the Mount Pearl Figure Skating Club this coming Sunday on the 24th is hosting their annual ice show. I know that a lot of the talented figure skaters that we have here in Mount Pearl are very much looking forward to that particular event, and I know they've been working hard all year, as they always do. So I'd like to encourage the general public and, of course, council as well to get out and attend that event from 4:30 to 6:30 on Sunday afternoon. That's it for me.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, just very quickly before I seek a motion to adjourn, make one or two quick comments. Council, if you beg your indulgence on this. First, to reiterate something Councillor Walsh made reference to, and I think others did as well, about the Outlook luncheon today with the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. Once again, city government and town government in both Paradise and Mount Pearl were praised by organizers and even by the local area MHA for having the insight to be able to cooperate at this level, to recognize that we are in reality one economic zone, and that by working together and focusing on issues of common need and want would generate good things. You know, the Chamber of Commerce for Mount Pearl, which is now the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce, is substantially bigger. It's a substantially more important organization as a result. It is a larger and more positive lobby on behalf of business in this region. We should embrace that and congratulate that. And the fact that they host these Outlook luncheons every year, and they do now get very good turnouts, and a lot of the decision makers, you know, from bankers to bakers, show up to hear what the mayors have to say. It's a very positive thing. I want to pass on congratulations to my colleague, Mayor Wiseman, on a fine job out there today. Him and I take great delight in seeing who can one-up each other every now and again. It's a great bit of fun. But in all honesty, that town, when I hear him use the words of a great place to grow, a great place to raise a family, great place to... And I hearken back to the 1980s when Mount Pearl was, if you would, enjoying the same suffering, that same level of growth. The kind of same things happened. So, you know, they're doing a great job out there, and I just wanted to pass that on. Very quickly, congratulations as well to Councillor Stoyles, who has chaired this weekend of the Avalon regional meetings for the Avalon region of the municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador. As everybody knows, Councillor Stoyles is the representative for the 88 towns that make up all of the incorporated municipalities on the Avalon. This was the first Avalon regional meeting that I attended that was actually a 2-day training event. It started on Friday evening, and it went all Friday evening, and then all day Saturday till 7 o'clock. Well, we got out a little early, thanks to Lucy, on Saturday night. One of the biggest things that came up, and they had a huge presentation on it, and I thought I would just pass along to council because I kind of smile about it, is the establishment of the Municipal Safety Council in Newfoundland and Labrador. One of the driving organizations behind the establishment of that particular group happens to be the City of Mount Pearl. And it was to the City of Mount Pearl that the Chair and the Executive Director of Workers' Comp looked to play a leadership role to see if they could get that organization actually established. We actually were instrumental as a city in negotiating the 3-year contract that's in place that made the establishment of that safety committee possible, the financial arrangement that made it possible, and all that's going on. To hear them do a report for us this weekend on how it's growing, what the need really is, and where an outreach has to take place to smaller communities in other areas was simply tremendous. It was one of the things that we learned about, from tourism to economic development, but that one in particular stands out. And I just wanted to say to Councillor Stoyles that everybody who attended the meetings when we left that evening said these were the best yet. And it's a good way to go about doing it. I just wanted to pass on my thanks for it, and I know the thanks of other members. What a great thing it was, those Avalon regional meetings. With that, I'm going to invite a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Ledwell. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.